Hello, I'm Wesley Walker.
I'm Samantha Lawyer.
And I'm Brad Ellis. We're all with Wyvern Gaming.
Thank you for helping us make a great game.
Brad, tell me a little bit about our living system that we're having.
Sure. So the plan is to launch it where the episodes are coming out over the course of a year, and as the episodes are going on, you're playing a character that is living in the series. So it's a living RPG series. Think of it as like a TV show that your character is a part of, living within that episode. And over a course of a year, we will have different storylines that we'll play through, and your actions and the actions of the other people who are playing the game will affect the outcome later in the season. So we're really excited to bring that to all the fans, and we think it's going to be really fun.
I've had a lot of fun with it so far, beta testing and everything. Sam, what's your favorite characters so far with our beta testing?
So far, I'm going to have to say it would be the Aturan Medic. That's fun to play. It's fun to create a story with a new race. I also like playing the Jaffa Scientist. I have a lot of fun with her, with making her more focused on the science aspects of everything versus basically what everybody else is doing. I have fun just taking her on tangents.
Yeah, it's a nice twist on the Jaffa, because the Jaffa are usually noted as soldiers and a rough people, but having a scientist as a Jaffa, that's a completely different aspect.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, one of the great things about where we were able to do the Phoenix site, being able to have this Phoenix site allows us to have all the different races beyond just humans. So that's been a real adder to the game, I think.
Mm-hmm. What got you started with Wyvern Gaming?
Oh, goodness. Well, at the time, it was my buddy Phil. He woke up, he messaged me one day, and he said he's been up all night working on these games, and he says, I've got this great idea. We've got to do this thing. So he basically was the brainchild of a lot of the games that we have. And since then, we've just been rolling.
Pretty good. Yeah, I remember the day that I came over to visit at your house, and Sam and Phil were there, and we were all sitting around a fire, and y'all offered me the ability to join in on Wyvern Gaming, and I was pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
I remember the night before he messaged Brad, he woke me up in the middle of the night. He said, I got this idea. Not half asleep. I just told him, just write it down, talk to me in the morning. And little did I know he did.
Yeah, that was the thing that I told him too when he told me the idea. It was like, okay, great. Make a play test and we'll figure it out. And we'll try it. And because I always wanted to make sure that I wanted him to put some effort into it to make sure that he was serious about it.
Right.
Yes,
yeah.
He's always had ideas, and he never followed through on those ideas, and I was pleasantly surprised when he did. Yeah,
for sure. That first game was Cthulhu, a deck building game, which was, it's been our flagship product for a while, and his idea of having a role playing game was something that he's had for quite a while. And Stargate was a dream come true, and thankfully he learned about the fact that we got the license right before he passed, and we're doing this for you, Phil. Thanks,
buddy. So hey guys, we're just reaching out to you real quick here at Wyvern Gaming. We would like to ask some questions and have questions asked to us about the playtesting and where we're currently at with the game. We're trying to develop the best game that we can for you guys. So if you can, go on our website, ask questions. That way we can go on and answer these questions. We've had a lot of questions already. We've been able to address those questions. It's helped us tremendously in game development. The more questions that come in, hey, the better we can make a game for you guys that you're going to really, really, really enjoy.
Yeah, we'll create a entry in our forums. So if you go to stargatetherpg.com and head over to the forums, into the general area, there'll be a forum post in there where you can post questions that we'll answer on camera and give you guys answers best we can.
Yeah, we'll try and respond as fast as we can with those questions. So yeah, that's stargatetherpg.com.
Hello everybody. We are coming to you live now. Actually, I need to readjust my screen a little bit. We've got the live chats going in the corners. So as if you have any questions for us, you can either post it on the Discord channel for the Comic-Con site, or you can post it on the YouTube live stream as we got going. So actually, we already have a question. So the first question is, what was the... Here it is. Let me scroll it down. It's from Ryan. Oh, we can't really see it. Sorry, Ryan says, what was the focus of the mechanism in this game? Is it more combat focused or more role play exploration focused?
Yes, that first one's for
Mac,
me.
you want to take that one, Mac?
Yeah, it's very the machinery of the game is designed to create a television show. We love, SG1 because it's a TV show and the stories are told in that format. Right now, we're living through a golden age of TV, and so the core systems of the game are designed to recreate a 13-episode prestige television SG1 campaign at home. I would estimate that, at least in my play testing, it's felt about right to have one action scene per mission, which is what we call a session. So at one action scene per session, those are typically battles, a brawl sometimes, often non-lethal, like just not a situation where the characters are being lethal, in a narrative sense. Sometimes that's a big assault on just a couple days ago, we ran a series of firefights. So our game session was actually 2 firefights and a stealth and a infiltration encounter. So that was a really heavy combat. That was the players had been building up to it for a few sessions and knew that they were going to rescue a bunch of slaves from a Jaffa work camp.
I would have to say, actually, though, to go into more detail with the answer to that, it depends on what the GM wants to do. If the GM wants to write an episode of all combat, they can. If they want to write an episode of all determination points, they can. It's all in the flavor of the table that the crowd that they usually play for, the table they're playing for.
Yeah, but
if they like nothing but negotiations, then hey, that's what they can do. It's role playing.
And we've got mechanics to make all of those an actual tactical, strategic decision for the players, right?
Right.
They're managing a resource. They're planning their approach. They're not just walking in and talking. They get a moment to, really go through some mechanics.
Yep.
But
we did make a conscious effort to not make this just combat focused, though. We did add all those other elements.
Right, but to go into to answer about the living campaign. That itself, we're trying to make a mixture of all the episodes. There need to be a mixture of a little bit of combat, or it doesn't need to be all combat and then in one episode and then all non-combat in another episode. It's going to be a nice mixture per episode. Every episode's going to have that nice mixture.
So
I'm going to interrupt really quick, Brad. Can you introduce everybody?
I was about to say that, actually, the same thing. We forgot to introduce ourselves.
Got into it.
I'm just
jumped right in.
I love
it. Jenny, do you want to start?
Sure. My name's Jenny Stiven, and I'm a producer, worked with Stargate and MGM for 20 years. Just finished up the Stargate Command. Let's all pause, shed a tear. And it closed out, and I've been lucky enough to work with Wyvern Gaming on their marketing and helping with the canon in the universe. So that's what I'm doing with these guys.
Wes?
I don't like introductions. I'm Wes. Anyway, well, I'm with Wyvern Gaming. I'm one of the founders / owners of Wyvern Gaming, along with Brad and Samantha Lawyer, who's not with us right now. She's, I guess, at work. And I'm the guy that I guess does everything, a little bit
He's-
everything.
Yep. He's a little bit of everything guy. That's what he
Yeah,
is.
Yeah,
definitely.
but love Stargate. Have my whole life. Well, ever since Stargate came out, anyway. I'm that old. But
Oh, please.
aside from
You guys are babies.
okay.
And I'm Brad Ellis. I'm the CEO of Wyvern Gaming. Uh, just like Wes, this is an exciting experience for us. We're a game design company that has been building this role-playing game for quite a while, and we love that it's in the Stargate universe because we are big fans of Stargate and SG1, obviously. Mac, you want to give it an intro?
And I'm Mac Martin. I'm the designer. I'm the guy writing the book, putting all the words in the book, making it.
He's the guy that does all the legwork,
Yeah,
the
for
finger
sure.
work.
I do a lot of the graphic design elements of it. That's a lot of comes from me. A lot of the art. We actually didn't have. We didn't bring the artist on for. We should have done a Q&A with the artist, but we didn't do that. But a lot of the stuff that we get from them is really good stuff. We got another question though. How long until we get to Atlantis?
Well, I don't
So
know. We started season 6, episode 9, so you do the math.
yeah. So I mean, the plan is if everything goes well that we're going to have expansions, and the idea is that we go maybe a year-ish between each expansion. So you tell me how long until we get there.
So we got another question here that I'm seeing. It says, "Are we designing a new game, and is this for computer?"
Yeah, that's a big misconception.
Yeah.
A lot.
It is a tabletop role-playing game. It's based on the 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons rule set.
So you can play on computer through some alternate means like Roll20 or Tabletop
And
Simulator
Browse.
or
there's a variety.
Yep.
Yeah.
Zoom.
But you need a gate master, someone who will run the adventure for you.
Right.
It's a social game.
Yeah.
And then I got a question by text. If you can, because people who might not have seen the interview, tell where this takes place in the SG1 universe, because they didn't understand. Their Stargate fan didn't exactly understand, and that's from Kathy O'Neill.
I'll let Wes take that.
Time frame, it starts SG1 right after the season 6, episode 9, Allegiance, where the Tok'ra and the Jaffa and the Tauri are all at the Alpha site, and they've been infiltrated, and there's kind of been a driving force that kind of splits them apart, even though they're trying to make this connection with each other. But because the Alpha base was compromised, they had to create another base, and we figured, okay, well, that's where we're going to step in. That's where our game kind of picks up, and we created what's called the Phoenix site. So it's not really another Alpha site. It's not a beta site. It's the Phoenix site. It's the site for all of these different factions, the Tok'ra, the Jaffa. It's for them to get together. The Unas, the Tolans that are now homeless. All of these freedom fighters that want to get together. Like that's where we're at. And the designation, the planet designation where the Phoenix site is located is kind of top secret. So because we don't want the Goa'uld to figure this out.
Absolutely.
So the Goa'uld are the big supervillains still, obviously, and that's one of the for me, one of the cool parts of this is that you get to go play in all of those ways where you could have either the pre-gen characters, the existing stories, or create your own, which a lot of Stargate fans love to do.
Absolutely.
They love to do their own galaxy exploration, basically.
Yeah, if you want to make this a homebrew and run everything, that's just when you get the core rulebook, it tells you everything you need to do to create a campaign that's based like on a TV series, and you can run off and keep on going. Someone asked, "Is it multiplayer?" Simple answer is yes, absolutely. You need some folks together to play a game. So you have typically between 3 and 6 players and a gate master who's the storyteller. So you have the storyteller who's telling the adventure or the episode to the players, and then the players are reacting to the events that happen. And a lot of times there's dice rolling involved to see what the outcomes are.
So we also have. So are there are the characters the same from the TV show? They can be if you wanted to make them that way, but as explained before and numerous times, let's say somebody wanted to create Jack O'Neill, then you'd have another person creating Jack O'Neill, another person creating. The next thing you know, you've got a table of Jack O'Neills, and that's kind of weird.
But an episode I would watch.
Right. The multiplicity episode.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, you can if you want to, but that's up to you. You can create those characters. I'm sure there will be plenty of people that will create Jack O'Neills and Samantha Carters and so forth and so on.
We have iconics built into the assumption. After all, this happens at the Phoenix site, which is not the same place that the SG1 is stationed. So while the GM I expect most GMs will not want you to play those characters, so that those characters can show up and interact with your characters that they can use to tell the longer story of the Phoenix site, which is that clandestine multi-planetary coalition. So it's a world where those characters certainly exist, but we have different iconics. We have our own Phoenix One team, and it's assumed that the players will be taking on the role of either Phoenix One or Phoenix. I mean, that's how you could use it to emulate other Stargates, but the core system starts with those assumptions.
And SG1 could certainly show up in your adventures for sure.
Right. So if you're playing Jack O'Neill and all of a sudden you're in your episode, your living campaign episode, Jack O'Neill shows up, it's like, whoa, hold on a second,
Well, and that's what you guys have written that in some of the mission briefs. So to Mac's point, that it certainly lives in that universe. In other words, it is living at the same time as season 6. So that's a great part of it.
Let's take Ananamouse's question. He's from Australia, so he's got up really early, 5 a.m. for him to ask this question. So he says he just says to say he's been lucky enough to be able to play test the rules, and I love it. I love the team at Wyvern because they do actually listen to feedback from the fans. Oh, thank you very much. That wasn't a question. I just
that was not planted, I promise.
Not planted at all. Thank you.
No,
appreciate
that's so sweet.
We have a ton of fans in Australia. It is. Stargate is so huge over there. It is great.
Yep.
And we promise to do some more events more in your time zone. I know that's been a struggle. I know that like San Diego Comic-Con and coming up Gen Con, they're mostly in the U.S. time zones. So we'll see about doing some events closer to you.
I'm a night owl, so I can play at all times.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually in the same boat. I'm frequently up at 3 a.m.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm not a morning person. I'm always working at about 12:30 is when I hit my stride. a.m.
Of course. Yeah.
So I guess that does make me a morning person.
Yeah, I guess so.
Huh.
Anybody have any other questions? We can talk about something else.
I wanted to filibuster for a second on that question we had earlier.
I bet you did.
I have an example from game of a player playing so one of the gags I have with one of my groups is I'm always making them cast their characters as if we were doing a show, so they have to pick the actor.
Oh, God, that's great.
And one of them gave me a picture of MacGyver, and I'm like, you know that that's. Do you not know this?
Richard Dean Anderson, yeah.
I was like, do you not? All right. Well, what he wanted to go with was, I finally got to his background, and he did get it. He wanted to play a I forget what it was, but it was basically a ray that created a second O'Neill. But this one didn't have any of its memories and was much younger. So it was a guy like, what can they do? They can't let him loose on Earth. They don't know what he is. So let's just stick him at the Phoenix site and see what he learns.
So there's another question here.
That's a good one.
Mac's gonna like this one.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So are there
about guns?
Yes, it
Yes.
is. are there tools to homebrew weapons and equipment?
Oh, well, that's an answer I can give that you'll be much more satisfied with the answer on.
And specifically, they're asking such as advanced cultures and technology like the Tolan.
So here's the quick and dirty of how our system works for that. Most weapons are not detailed in a specific weapon. The P90, as an example, that's the standard issue for the Stargate. The P90 is a long arm, right? We're doing very broad groups, and then you customize the weapon from there. There are simply too many guns in the real world or even at play in militaries to go through and do all the math on them. And that goes a long way into our tech level system. So humanity and ballistic weapons in general are what are called a tech level 2. We go from tech level 1 to 4, 1 being primitive. That's anything from stone to worked metal. Once you start getting computer chips, moving parts, chemistry involved, you get to tech level 2. When you start hitting tech level 3 is when you start getting computers that can process information faster than a mind and can make decisions, all the way up to your tech level 4s, which is most of what the Goa'uld are walking around with. Ancient tech, Goa'uld tech, all that's mostly tech level 4. Some of it's tech level 3. Humanity mostly works on tech level 2. We've still got some tech level 1 stuff. We've still got some tech level 3 stuff. And during the game, what the scientists and engineers in your group are going to be doing are what are called seasonal research and development arcs. So they're going to have a whole background thing that you come back to every session where they are working on the team's gear, where they're incorporating Tolan tech, where they're changing things around and doing some weird stuff. And we have a whole set of rules for the process they go by on that. And then all of the stuff you see in the show up through season 6, episode 9 is described in one way, shape, or form. Right now, I'm in the process of working out all the Goa'uld weapons, for instance. Because Goa'uld demonstrate a lot of powers. Most of their powers are based on the ribbon device, but we see a lot of variation even amongst the system lords that we've seen by season 6. So just a lot of very tech level gear with broad approaches for the GM to have a lot of fun, letting his players make weird stuff. Like if you're doing an entire game that's based around our aerial combat rules, and one of your players is the guy who makes weird spaceships or starfighters for your team, I mean, every season he's making a new stealth bomber or something, right? It's the F-302R or whatever you're calling it.
But Mac, that's actually kind of cool too, because you're a huge Stargate fan. So whenever you talk about the Tolan or the Tok'ra and not letting the Tauri, that we're not advanced enough to use the technology that they have, in a way you've built that into these levels, which is great because that's sticking to the canon about what these other races, but now they're not just our allies like you see in the show, but in the game, we're working side by side daily with them. So some of that conflict could come up, which would be really cool to explore.
And it's even more fun because some of that can be given to the players. Like one of the players might be a Tolan who,
right.
Or a Tok'ra who does not want to share a specific piece of information.
Yeah.
That's especially true for our new race, the Aturans. They're very aligned with the Nox, and there's a lot of information they just wouldn't feel comfortable sharing, and sometimes that's up to their character doing that.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's fun too. That conflict immediately in your team. If you've got that, if you've chosen that as part of your team in the gameplay, that could be your conflict where they're confronted with something that's just in the gameplay, but then amongst themselves, there's going to be conflict.
Yep. We had a question before we lose it is when is the release? And Right now, the plan is to do there'll be a Kickstarter that happens later this year. There will be more information exactly when that is very soon, and the release of the book will happen early 2021 in the first quarter.
There was another question here.
Yep, go ahead.
Is there a limit on each character's abilities? Are you able to add any?
That's a Mac. Let you do that one too.
That's another me one, huh? Okay. When you begin play, you're going to be choosing from one of our 6 classes, just like traditional Dungeons and Dragons. You can play, let's see if I can remember them all off the top of my head: diplomat, engineer, scientist, scout, soldier, and I'm missing.
Engineer.
Nope, he said engineer.
Do we have
he said
5 out of
engineer?
6?
I think you had
Okay.
Medic.
Same again.
I forgot
Medic.
medic.
Yeah.
Of course, medic.
Medic. So you've got those 6 classes. You're going to
Been doing this for the past 2 years, and
yeah, you're going to play one of those 6 classes from levels 1 to 5. After level 5, you don't level by earning mission points. That's our version of experience. Instead, you level by spending the mission points you earn. So after level 5, if you, for a mission, get 3 mission points, you can then spend those on a feat. And once you've spent enough mission points on various feats, you'll go up a level. You gain the hit die and sometimes a proficiency bonus. It is very much a game based around the levels are less important to a character, and the proficiency bonus becomes more important for gauging character power. You can have a lot of wiggle room on even the level in a party, especially for the organized play or even at your home table, because if a player misses a game, they're missing 3 experience. They might be a level behind the rest of the party, but it's not as big a deal.
Right.
Because that level doesn't really, it's a few extra hit points, it's a few extra feats, but they're all customized. They may not be combat feats. If you're, a soldier and you've missed a couple games, well, all right, you can keep your combat abilities up, but your diplomatic skills, your side skills might be a little lower and still need some improvement. And once you hit 5, it's just a smorgasbord. There are no more classes. Soldiers can learn to be medics. Diplomats can learn to be something else. The 1 to 5 experience is what Stargate Command or Phoenix Command expects you to learn to be viable in the field. Once you've done all that, as long as you're learning, they're just thumbs up, A-OK, keep progressing.
Yeah, life after 5 is totally different than 1 through 5. So.
Yep. But if you wanted to create your own different feats beyond what's in the book, you certainly could do that as a GM.
Definitely GMs should make feats for their campaign. I would definitely encourage that. But also, if you want to go completely classless, I do have rules in the book for that. The characters are slightly less powerful than those who choose a class, though. So people think not a lot.
Yeah, think of the mission points kind of like time spent in training. So it's I've got 3 or 6 mission points built up, and I want to go to the range. So you can spend those mission points at the range and get better at target shooting or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of how it's the concept.
You can also, have spent your downtime at that range to get a bonus in the next mission too.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic we can talk about. Is that unlike in D&D where you have gold, right? There's a currency called gold, and you buy things that you accumulate for your character. Well, in the Stargate program, you just go to the armory and you have access to things. So the thing,
but you have to gain access to it though.
Yeah, so you don't necessarily buy things in the Stargate role-playing game. You basically become efficient or gain access to it as the mission goes on.
In D&D, the regulation on what gear players have is gold pieces and what they find. In Stargate, it's more what you can carry, right? You are an away team that has to walk through a Stargate. There's only so much that goes through. So the amount of prep time that command put into building your mission is more what determines how much stuff you get to run it.
Right. Now you can bring a Fred with you, but remember that the Fred is slow, and maybe your particular mission requires a lot of walking in a short amount of time. So possibly the Fred is not the right way to go. It might be something you leave at the gate and take what you need. But other than that, don't take too much. And if you try to check out a rocket launcher or a minigun and you don't have access, then the quartermaster will tell you no.
When you ask the military for a rocket launcher, someone asks why.
They got death gliders. I need a rocket launcher.
Well, look, if you said we expect that we're going to see that they've got death gliders on the planet, I guarantee you, the Stargate command is like, yeah, take some rocket launchers.
But you're just going on a recon mission. You're just going on a diplomatic mission. Why do you need this rocket launcher?
You're
never
going
know.
to speak to a senator in Washington on this one. You're not even going to the gate. You're not allowed to have the minigun.
I need a nuke for that one.
I know.
So someone asked, are you able to share stuff with other characters?
Yeah, it's not really too much of an issue. Most characters have a loadout that is their default loadout, and you have some slots that you're picking stuff to take with you. And if that means the group wants to take extra med packs or extra disease protection gear or something for a specific mission, then you as a group decide who's carrying what. We're not trying to get too caught up in the weeds on who's got what ammo refill and where all the grenades are.
Yep, absolutely. So we've talked about some of the differences between 5th edition and our game. Maybe we could talk about a couple more. We talked about the leveling after 5th level. I got the list up. That's why I'm looking off screen. We have a 1 meter grid system. Do you want to talk about that, Mac, a little bit?
Yeah, well, I changed the name from grid system so it's less
okay.
Grid-based because D&D's core rules don't actually use a grid, which is an interesting thing. Is because we're as gamers so used to using grids that we read it. We read space and we think, oh, it means a space on a grid map.
Wait, so what did you change the name to, Babs?
Oh, I don't remember. I think I just said 1 meter spaces is the default.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And it just is we're using meters because they're scientific and there's a lot of, that's science.
Right. This
is science fiction. And it also means it's more globally accessible, which I think Stargate is very much a global brand, right? Like yes, it's all about the United States Air Force, but at the same time, it's a very universal theme of exploration and meeting new people in the world.
Yeah.
So we're using basically the metric system, which as a non-metric user, even I have to get used to. I'm not asking anything more of my American players than I'm not doing myself. The change there is really weird because going to a meter map makes a lot of multiplication and division smoother, but it makes a lot of conversion more complicated. So we've done all that work under the hood for the players. And then we went and included all the map to unconvert it in case you've got a map at home that's on 5-foot squares. You can tell your players, all right, your move action gets you this far. So you can use all the tools at home, which is especially important for those, at least for me, the players who have old materials, old Stargate maps and so forth in previous iterations of Stargate role-playing games. It's nice to have, the paragraph of rules in the book to let them use those toys.
Yep. And then we have range versus melee. While melee combat certainly happens, as Stargate Phoenix teams often engage enemies with firearms, GMs find a grid map unnecessary or spaces unnecessary, and a lot of it is done via theater of the mind. Do you want to talk about that some? Or is that enough?
Yeah, that's certainly true, but less true now that we've introduced the firefight encounter.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
We've introduced a new type of encounter that uses a 10-meter square. So you're not really looking at where the person is from what space this guy is taking up. Is he blocking a doorway? Is he behind a barrel? It's more like he's over by the above ground fuel tanks. He's over by those cars. He's near that building, right? He's around behind that building. It's really more the space that guys are described in. And so firefights happen in a very different way when we play them out in that new mechanic. So Often firefights don't require any sort of map, but we at least now have a way for players to map a little more strategy, how far you can move, and specifically, what are the battlefield conditions that make that happen for that weird, firefight range combat that just never happens in a fantasy game, right? There's never that many people with bows and wands. It's unique to the setting.
We got a question on YouTube Live. Since the system is loosely based off of D&D, will there be rules to help import deities and demigods for those wanting to go beyond the SG1 canon?
So I would think certainly you could take the aspects and features of the big bads in D&D and convert them into what it would be in our game as well.
Almost any magic power or weird ability you see in Dungeons and Dragons can be explained in Stargate through sufficiently high level technology.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Resurrection through the sarcophagus, all kinds of stuff.
Right.
So if you've got something that you want to think it would be real fun, for instance, to have in your home game, have a planet with a dragon named Tiamat running around. That's not just a D&D dragon. That's a dragon from real life. That's an entity in real life.
Now, what happened in season 9? We're not there yet, but
right. Oh yeah,
or 10,
doesn't he? Never mind.
Yeah.
But
So,
honestly,
but that's
there's
a
all
good
kinds
point.
of weird aliens on planets. Go read Flight of Dragons. He makes sense of dragon anatomy. One could exist.
Well, and also remember, that's part of the beauty of the Goa'uld is that they're scavengers, right? So they're scavengers from different other galaxies and planets and races. And so in this game where your Goa'uld are the big bad, your supervillains, you've got Tok'ra, you've got the Aturans, which is the new race that you guys have created, and you've got Tolan that could, quite frankly, have a technology base for whatever you want to create that's magic, quote unquote. That's the beauty of so many great episodes in Stargate where magic is explained ultimately scientifically, or it's not, that it's left up to the universe, where you have those moments at the end of the show where Jack is saying that there really isn't an answer, and Sam's frustrated, but that's the end of that episode. That you can play. And Brad, I love your phrase, theater of the mind. That's the beauty of this.
Not mine. I don't.
No, I know, but you just used it, and
Yes.
I love it. It's perfect. It's perfect for Stargate because every single fan that I have ever met, so thousands of fans, the best part about it is that they always are applying their imagination to the show, and now you get to do that here.
They've all got amazingly cool headcanon.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
So something that might give a little more explanation to this question is going into a basic, like, look at a chimera. Chimera is a mixture of a bunch of different creatures, right? Well, because of the way that Mac has done the CR system, you should be able to create a chimera in the Stargate system by taking features of this creature and taking features of this and just kind of adding them and building them together. Now you might have a high CR level creature, but and you might have to make it a smaller creature to get it to your party's CR level.
Exactly.
But the beauty of Stargate is even a low level party can deal with a high level threat if they've got an F302.
Right. True. Good point.
Yep. CR for folks who may not know is challenge rating.
Yeah, the nuclear bomb is the Greek equalizer in Stargate.
or the Chulak weapon. I mean, look, there's all kinds of things that we can come up with that we can use for fun. I mean, it could be something as simple as Brad and Wes, the game that we played the other day, which, again, I just love playing this game, where sometimes something as simple as a cape can be used. But then another game that I just played where we actually engineered, because that was the engineer ended up being in our gameplay, one of the leads, just the way it ended up, she was able to put together a whole jerry-rigged bomb out of, medieval village things. And it was so much fun. And that's the best part of this. Honestly, I keep coming back to this, and I'm sorry because I'm going to beat this drum all weekend, is that as a geek, as a Stargate fan, as a very... I played D&D for 20 years, but I still would consider myself a newbie at it because I've never done a deep dive as much as I am now. That this is so much fun. I get to play every Stargate character I want. I can do every story that I wish got told that we get to play. And then the beauty of D&D is you get a crappy roll and you got to go in another direction because this great idea I had didn't work.
Yeah.
So that's half the fun.
It's
Sometimes
also
it
awesome.
literally blows up in your face.
It's also
Right.
awesome because we have all this background of the Stargate SG-1. Because we started
yeah.
at season 6, you have all that stuff to play off of in your stories. So
Yep.
we learn, we start the story at season 6, episode 9, which is right. It's Alliances is the name of the episode.
Yeah.
Allegiance. I believe it's
Allegiance. Sorry, Allegiance.
Yeah.
It's when they are at the Alpha site, and we've got a group of Jaffa, Rebel Jaffa, and a Free Jaffa, and a group of Tok'ra, and they got infiltrated by an Ashrak, right? So at that point, the site became compromised, and now
I already talked about all this.
What's that? Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
already talked about all this, but you're good.
I'm sorry. But anyway,
For those that missed it before.
for those. So anyway, so right after that, right, is the very next episode is Cure. I think is where they figure out the Pangarans, I believe is how you say it, are making Tritonin for themselves, and then we learn, like many episodes down the road, that they start to use Tritonin for the Jaffa, right? Well, how did that happen?
Well, the thing is the Tritonin that they do make, it's a synthetic Tritonin.
Right.
Because they were using a Tok'ra queen in order to basically figure out how to get the Tritonin. So that was cruelty.
Basically.
That was cruelty to her. So they're like, well, we gotta find a different method to do this.
So all that to say this is that happens in the background, and we don't learn how it happened. So as a player in this Stargate role-playing game, you can play that out. You can have a session where you go and you actually are key elements into the development of the Tritonin.
And I love the episodes. One of the things that struck me a lot about the game and how you all have written it is the rules of engagement episodes, where you see the younger kids that are trying to be this amazing group and they think that they're fighting for a Goa'uld. That's a lot of what we're playing, is that we're playing those other planets, those other galaxies, those other races who SG-1 visited, or SG-13 or SG-2 visited and left behind. What happened? What happened next? Did that system lord come back if they didn't vanquish him? Because sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's an abandoned village, basically.
That particular episode was a strong runner for being our jump-off point, actually, because of that.
Right.
Exactly.
Oh, was it? I didn't know that. Sorry.
Yeah.
But we decided to go with the 6.9 one.
No, and I think the Allegiance one is better. What I love, though, is that you kind of think about that as you're playing. If you're a Stargate fan, you start to pull in all those episodes that you watched where you thought later, well, what did ever happen to those people or that technology? Or did SGC go back and tap out that technology or the native resource, to refer to the native one? So I think that there's just so many stories, let alone the ones that everybody comes up with on their own.
I like that example because it's not just a good example of an episode, like a little thing from Stargate. Where did that Tritonin come from?
Right.
It's not just a good episode. That could be an entire season.
Right.
Like that's we don't know the story behind that. That could have involved like some serious firefights and like an explosion or two. Like that
Yeah,
could be a
exactly.
whole season story right there.
And then I guess, so Atlantis starts at the end of season 7.
Oh
And
yeah,
you parallel track it.
yeah. Gabby was answering someone's question.
Oh.
Hi, Gabby.
So I was giving her the link to join us.
Yay.
So let's see. Let's go back to the differences from 5th edition.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go with determination points. You want to talk about that, Mac?
Oh, sure. Determination points are our resource that players use to keep going in what are called plot encounters. Any encounter that isn't an action encounter, which should not mean that they don't forward the plot, but plot encounters are frequently about giving plot, deciding what the players know, how they're going to respond, that sort of thing. But a plot encounter typically will use determination points as the resource. They come back at any long rest in the current build, and they are kind of a bidding mechanism. You never really spend them, although there are a few examples where you might. And there are ways to get them back in case your GM wants to do like a session that's one day, like a big diplomatic function, like a peace negotiation, something like that. You might do an entire day where diplomatic functions give you DP back. But yeah, determination points are kind of that bidding resource. You bid them like a poker chip, and if you succeed at what you're doing, you get your points back. If you fail, you lose them. So it's a thing to risk to see how long your character can go before they get annoyed, fed up, tired, just exhausted from decision fatigue and arguing all day.
So yeah, we enjoy when we play in person. We enjoy actually using the poker chips and
yeah,
throwing them out there, and
they're just fun to play with at the table too. So there's that.
I do highly recommend using poker chips to track DP.
Yeah. So people keep asking if this is from Stargate Networks, these backgrounds, and yes.
Mine is from a third-party artist that I found online. This is part of his little online portfolio.
This is not our game back here. This is just some background that we found.
Just fun backgrounds.
Just fun backgrounds.
Fun backgrounds, yeah.
Okay.
A lot of our art is still under approval from MGM, so we're not willing to post that here just yet.
There's Johannes link to this.
Yep. Let's go with Initiative and Moxie. You want to talk about that, Mac?
It's
the difference between.
Sometimes it makes the game go easier for everyone to have an order in which they talk it. So initiative is your standard initiative. We use either wisdom or dexterity because perceptive people often go sooner too. They know when the fight's starting before others. For Moxie, which is what we use in plot encounters, it's that they who goes first, and that uses charisma or intelligence.
Yep. So it's another mechanic for doing the order of the player order based on whether it's a plot encounter or an action encounter, basically. And speaking of encounters, do you want to talk about the different encounter types that we have? This is brand new stuff to that we've added to this game above 5th edition, obviously.
Segue into it by explaining one of the things with the initiative and say a aerial combat encounter, which is one of our action encounter types. Sometimes aerial combat happens. Sometimes you're flying F-302s against Death Fighters. And in those scenes, initiative works different, but we still have the same initiative roll. But whoever rolls lowest has to declare first. Whoever rolls highest gets to act first, right? So you declare in reverse order and then you resolve, and it creates a kind of dogfighting simulation for you. Since we don't have a 3D map that we can use, we're all theater of the mind in there. Encounters like aerial combat are various ways to handle different scenes you might see in a show. One of the most common plot encounters that players will use is the convince encounter. If you're going along, you're trying to convince somebody of something, you don't roll well enough to get the initial off. We've seen that happen in a lot of shows. Just because you failed at the beginning doesn't mean the character fails, right? sometimes you come up to the guards and you're talking to the guards, and your initial approach, the example we have in the book is they were just trying to dress like guards and look like they had a missive for the Shield Maiden. There's a completely made up character I don't explain at all in the example. And as they're trying to get past the guards, and the guards are like, no, you can't get through. And they fail their disguise check, just, started off. So now they've got to explain themselves. And we go into a convince encounter where they try and explain some of those answers. Everybody's making rolls. Everyone's describing what their character's doing. The Jaffa soldier might be doing one thing while the diplomat's trying to distract them, and the engineer's getting out the paperwork that he lovingly 3D printed or whatever. Right? It's this whole process, and so that's when everyone does the rolls rather than having the players do all of that decision making beforehand. We use a convince encounter. Sometimes do a little flashback to explain what they did here, if they're using weird skills. But for the most part, it's just used to bid some determination points and see if maybe through a little bit of determination and luck and finagling and skill, you can still convince this guy that you should get in to see the Shield Maiden with your made up orders that are going to, change the course of a war.
We're going to wrap this up in about 5 or so minutes. So if you have any last minute questions, jump on in there. We're taking them on Discord and on YouTube Live. Just post them and we will read them on the air. And also, just so you know, our next event that's going to run, we have a gameplay that'll be running later on this evening. Do you know the exact time, Jenny?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, yeah, Pacific time.
3 o'clock Pacific.
Yep. So, if you're curious how gameplay might look, you can join that session. Lee Alley, who's one of our game testers, editors, and really great guy who's helped us out a ton on the project. In fact, do we have an interview with him?
Yeah, Jenny? We do. It'll be live on, I think, Sunday. I just confirmed with Lee that he could do a live interview with us, and I think we're going to also have Stephen and potentially one of the artists on Sunday as well.
Awesome.
So it'll all be live. Yeah.
Great. So we'll be here all weekend doing things. I think we have another couple of these AMA sessions. So if you didn't get your question in for this one, maybe you're seeing this on a replay, jump in later this weekend and look at the schedule. Come to the Discord channel.
And we have 4 games. We have 4 games, and those are closed. I'm sorry. I know one of the guys earlier had asked if they could come in and play. Those got closed pretty quickly. So we've got 4 games that are running this weekend. We've got AMAs that are live, and then we've got a couple of recorded interviews as well. And the schedule's pinned, but we'll be sure to put it out on social. And Brad and Wes, I think we can put it up on the forum as well.
Sure. Yeah.
We can pin it at the top of the forum. So StargateRPG.com, right?
Yep.
I have that correct?
You got it.
So I want to make sure everybody goes and signs up if you haven't already. And then Brad and Wes, are there any game tester groups open for people who might not have heard about this early on that want to get in on this now?
Wes?
Well, we're sold out for Gen Con, and that's next week.
Yeah.
We're booked for next week and next weekend because of Gen Con and running those games.
Okay.
But if you want to join a play group, they're certainly available.
You can go on our website, and on our website we have the groups on the website, and there's hundreds of groups on there that you can join.
Perfect. So those are still open. That's what I wanted to confirm.
Yes, you can join as a playtester, so to speak. Because the rules are still in development, and they won't be finalized until after the Kickstarter, or right after the Kickstarter. But there are beta rules that are available on our website. You go to StargateTheRPG.com, sign up, and you can go to the play section and join the public play test group. And from there, you can download the PDF of the beta rules.
Great.
There you go.
That's perfect.
And then if you know a GM that likes to run Dungeons and Dragons, they can jump right in and run one of these for you.
Or if you'd like to run it. Just real quick, though, for those that did miss the beginning of this, I know that the question was there. How will they be able to see this feed later?
It'll be
So this
posted
will
later.
yeah, it'll be posted, and there'll actually be two places it'll be posted. So SDCC's YouTube channel under CCI Gaming, it'll be San Diego Comic-Con Gaming. They'll have all of our channel videos posted forever, and then of course Wyvern Gaming will have it on their YouTube channel as well. And we'll make sure that these links are, well, they're already pinned, but we'll make sure that these are posted in the Discord channel and on social all weekend.
Yep. All right. Well, I don't see any additional questions, so I think that maybe we'll just wrap it up here.
Yeah, those were great questions. Those were just what we needed to answer. That was great.
Those are good questions.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for including me.
You bet. Always.
Oh yeah.
Glad to.
I love this. So much fun.
All right.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Bye, guys.
All right, we're off the air.